Today we're going to be looking at the Koya, a new ultra-compact from Cybex. Cybex puts out ultra-compact size models all the time, and we frankly aren't concerned with covering most of them, as they're often just clones of each other released as new models for different regions. But the Koya we felt was a bit different, as it's the first ultra-compact released in their Platinum line, which so far only includes the Pream, ePream, and Mios, all of which, despite being overpriced, are rather solidly built strollers. So let's have a look then, going over the Koya from top to bottom and examining its advantages and disadvantages in terms of child comfort, ease of use, performance, and mechanics, before ending with a discussion of whether we feel it's worth purchasing for the price. And starting off with some stats, the Koya clocks in at 6.6 kilos and folds down to a cabin luggage acceptable 18 by 44 by 52 centimeters. It can carry 22 kilos in the seat and 5 kilos in the underslung shopping basket. When it comes to child comfort, the Koya seat has an inside width of 33 centimeters and a total length for the sitting surface, meaning the backboard, baseboard, and leg rest, of 80 centimeters, which, when combined with the full flat reclined position, makes for good comfort from birth up until around roughly 8 months, or whenever your child outgrows the unfortunately rather short and weak leg rest. After this, the larger length of the seat, which includes ample space beneath the canopy when the seat is upright, as well as the distance from the baseboard to the front frame mounted footrest, measures in at 115 centimeters, which would have provided quite comfortable seating for older children as well, were it not for the major flaw that the model's upright angle is simply far too reclined for comfort, which in my experience can be a key sticking point for a lot of parents, since kids often get frustrated when they can't sit fully upright. As far as other aspects of the seat go, the canopy is extendable and provides decent sun coverage, though there is unfortunately no flap to cover the mesh panel in the extended section. The textiles have a thicker, definitely not cheap feel, but are nonetheless of a somewhat strange, crinkly texture and are prone to wrinkling and also holding on to moisture stains a bit too long. The harness has the updated one-pull tightening, which has been added to a lot of Cybex models lately, and the seat liner can be removed, revealing a large mesh window in the seat back to provide ventilation in warmer climates. When it comes to parent comfort, the Koya's handle is fixed at a comfortable 104.5 centimeters off the ground. The shopping basket is average sized for an ultra-compact, but fiddly to access due to the narrow rear frame, the slope of the handle arms and seat, sidewalls, and the fact that either the leg rest or your kid's legs themselves are likely to be in the way from the front. As far as folding is concerned, despite seeming effortless in the advertising, the model's somewhat heavier and sturdier than average components, thick textiles, and the extra step of a locking clip make the process a bit more cumbersome than it looks. At the same time, though, I would like to note that the way the shoulder strap is threaded through the undercarriage does help a bit for yanking the whole assembly closed, and of course, makes the model more handy to carry around. As far as the feel of using the Koya goes, the model feels sufficiently sturdy but loose in its locking joints, in particular the central hubs right under the seat, which bend a bit side to side when steering. This isn't particularly unpleasant as the model feels right out of the box, but could mean that further loosening over time will make it a bit rickety. On top of this, there are two additional design choices that do make the model unpleasant to use in my opinion, even right out of the box, in the lack of rear frame suspension, which makes the Koya shake quite a bit at those looser points on the chassis over uneven sidewalks or gravel, and a quite narrow rear frame, which creates a feeling of instability, and combined with the slope of the handle arms and the model's deep recline, may even prove a tipping hazard. Alright, let's move on and look at the mechanics of the Koya then, where the model has a two-stage fold, whereby the buttons in the center of the handle draw on a pair of wires that release a hinged point halfway down the handle arms, and then after the handle has been rotated enough, a second pair of wires are pulled sufficiently within the lower portion of those arms to unlock the central folding hubs lower down. This sort of system is commonly used these days on self-folding models, and is relatively complex internally, though the sturdier build of the Koya's components overall, and the fact that there's no real side-to-side looseness with the handle arms themselves, mean that there's a good chance that the model actually won't suffer from symmetry issues with the folding system, despite this complexity. As I mentioned already, there is a certain degree of looseness in other places on the model though, but I would note here that the strength of the bars and decent cross support in the model's overall structure mean that I don't foresee any obvious mechanical breaking points, just a good chance of further loosening, which again might make the model feel a bit unpleasantly rickety over time. Moving down to the rear frame, there's again no inbuilt suspension, though the fact that the central assembly is a bit loose does mean that it will absorb some of the vibrations from rougher ground. The brakes are Cybex's standard rotation-based system, with the one change being that the locking pins are entirely metal, which is a nice change since sometimes, though rarely, the pins could snap. When it comes to the wheels themselves, the way they lock within the rear frame is fine, and the tires are of a decent material for holding up to wear, being a tough rubberized foam, though they are quite smooth and won't provide much grip, but then it's not like you should be using the model on ice anyway. Looking lastly at the front end, there's finally a little bit of suspension, built into the front forks. It's not going to do much given the design of the rest of the model, but I guess it's nice anyway. And there are no swivel locks, which is okay, since as I said, you shouldn't be trying to use the model over rough terrain anyway, but could have been nice to have, since the wheels are a little too loose in my opinion, in how they connect within the front housings, which can sometimes lead to wobbling problems down the road. And note that, if this happens, it will be particularly unpleasant in combination with the already somewhat rickety feeling of the chassis. So, should you get the Cybex Coya then? In my opinion, no. The concept of the Koya isn't bad. It's nice to see the brand trying to build a sturdier ultra-compact that's more in line with the manufacturing standards of their other premium models. But the actual design here, unfortunately, doesn't live up to the model's high price in my opinion, primarily due to the poor angling of the seat, the looseness of the chassis, the unstable feeling of that narrow back end, the cumbersome fold, and the somewhat inaccessible basket. It's not a horrible model, mind you, and I'm aware that some people out there are willing to put up with quite a bit for that snazzy copper piping, but there are simply too many other really great ultra-compact choices on the current market, in my opinion, for the Koya to compete at such a high price with all these issues. In any case, we hope you found this video interesting, and if you did, we ask you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. In addition, if you're currently shopping for a stroller, we have a buyer's guide on our Patreon page which lists a wide range of models that we recommend, with a lot of technical and lifestyle related information. You can find it by following the link in the description. Thank you.